Hey everybody, Roger here. I want to talk to you guys today about, again, something I've made a lot of videos about. I've made so many, but I haven't published a lot of them because it's just been, again, I've been moving a lot and been busy at work, among other things. So I just didn't really have time to look through them and edit them and then post them. So I'm going to go ahead and just continue this with something that I did last night. I ended up watching a live stream last night by a guy named Jefferson, whom I respect a lot. I respect quite a bit. Very knowledgeable, very smart, intelligent man. And I guess I just got done watching Cog's live stream, and I kind of saw that he was live, so I jumped on Jefferson's. And the whole stream was about, or at least the part where I jumped in, was starting to discuss. And I'm not going to be phrasing this correctly, so bear with me if I do say this wrong. The advocation of a white ethno-state, and not only that, but you know, there were also multiple points along the live stream where it was made clear, point blank, and again, this is via stats. That minorities. And I'm just going to separate it into two categories here: minorities and whites. Minorities cannot and will not ever be able to assimilate with white people. And I'm thinking to myself, well, that's odd, because I'm actually opposite of what your way of thinking is. And granted, he did bring up a lot of points where he mentioned, you know, there is that exceptional few where, you know, they do tend to step away from their, and I'm going to use this word directly because this is what it involved, though it wasn't mentioned much, culture. And I'm like, okay, well, this is where him and I agree. I agree that different cultures outside of the United States culture cannot and will not ever be able to assimilate properly. And this includes Hispanics or Mexicans that put the Mexican culture above American culture, or even put it as part of their a good portion of their lifestyle. Now, I grew up in a very Mexican family, in a very culturally Mexican family. We didn't do no quinceañeras or anything like that. We weren't that crazy. We were also poor, and I was always the off child, I think, where I always kind of questioned everything, did my own thing. We all did, but I think I kind of went a different way. And I just always knew that again, it goes back to that one story I've told before. You know, I joined Mecha, I brought a white friend. They told me the next day, don't ever bring a white friend because this is just for Mexicans or whatever. And I'm like, looking in my yearbook, I'm like, well, there are some white people in here, but I guess they didn't like this white person that I brought. I don't know. But that totally turned me off. And ever since then, I decided I started seeing the mistakes of separating people based on ethnicity and race, whatever. And now, granted, culture is definitely a dividing factor. I can agree with him 100%. A lot of other cultures will not mix with American culture, and we're flooding the United States with a bunch of people from foreign countries, third world countries for the most part, who will not assimilate into the American culture. We're not even vetting them at all for the most part. And the ones that we are vetting, I'm not sure if there's, or recently anyways, I'm not sure if there's like some sort of a lax job that they're doing in regards to vetting some people in. I don't know. But he's right in that, you know, because I looked at the data during this live stream. He is correct in saying that a lot of minorities, like Mexicans in particular, from Mexico, will not assimilate with the USA and will tend to vote more Democratic, which again was the basis of the whole, I think, the whole live stream. The more people vote Democratic, the more that America as we know it right now, the founding fathers, and you kept mentioning this, the white founding fathers only meant it for white America. And maybe he didn't mention it all that much, but a lot of the people in the chat did. He can't control that, obviously. And I was like, okay, well, Mexicans, yeah, you know, they tend to vote more Democratic, I think by a 70 to 30% margin. And I said, but here's the thing. I would love people to separate these distinctions. There is a difference between illegal immigrants and legal immigrants. I would assume that the illegal immigrant would probably vote a lot more Democratic than a legal immigrant. Maybe not by much, but I'm pretty sure somewhere along the way, as they're becoming I forget what the word is, nationalized. As they're becoming cultured and nationalized and assimilating into the U.S. and you know swearing their oath to the United States, they probably understand the values, the that you come here to work for yourself and make something of yourself, and maybe their voting record for the most part will reflect that, which is working more right, more conservative. So there's a difference between illegal immigrants and legal immigrants in that respect. Now again, he also failed. He read one of my questions so fast that he thought I said, and I didn't write this, and I can go back and look at this comment. I asked him what the political influence, not the political voting record, the political influence of an illegal immigrant would be versus the legal immigrant who can vote, who sometimes can vote. And he's like, oh, well, if you think people that are from Mexico can vote or illegal, you're dead wrong. I'm like, well, I know that. You read the question wrong. So anyways, just wanted to get that out there as well. Everybody was typing so fast, I just kind of put asterisk legal, whatever, just to kind of have him go on the right path here with my question. So we understand there's a difference. I would believe there's a difference between the illegal Mexican who does not get vetted, who does believe in nationalism with Mexico first and foremost, comes here to borrow American taxation and goods and services, etc., and jobs, versus the legal immigrant who will work for their money, who will actually want to try to contribute to being a good American. So now that we have that established, and I think the latter tends to lean right more. Maybe they still vote more Democratic. Maybe it's 60% to 40%. I don't know. I would assume that. And I have a lot of data that I'm studying right now. And again, I'll be talking about this in the near future, but I'm just trying to break this down. So now, there's also a difference between legal immigrants and American-born minorities. I am an American-born minority, and I came from a small town. I grew up poor. Regardless of my demographic, because now I live in a big city. I live in downtown Phoenix. I live in a very multicultural, multi-ethnic populated area, and I see people of all backgrounds. I'm able to get along with anybody. I have no restrictions. I personally believe, the ultimate goal of people in general is to get along, is to be embracing one another of their differences. Now, when it comes to culture, I don't agree with that. Again, there's a lot of cultures that don't mix with the U.S., and I'm not going to be a fool and try to say that all cultures can get along. No, the different peoples of different backgrounds. I know people from the Middle East who I am actually friends with that they get along with me on a personal level. They get along with me on a friendship level. We know each other. We trust each other. And that's the extent of it. And I don't. We tend to focus too much on the what ifs. What if it came down to the United States versus or white people versus minorities or whatever? My Middle Eastern friends might turn against me or whatever. That's a whole big what if at this point. And at the same time, I don't believe that with these kind of people because they don't have the same. I don't know what the word is. Brain function as the people who actually do want to come here, like the people who were just found out in Mexico. And come to think of it, the little place in Mexico that had buried that, sacrificed that kid because they thought he would become God or something. And then the I don't know who it was, FBI. I haven't followed the story that much, but I know that some agency or police force or something decimated that place inside out. Tampered with evidence basically in New Mexico, and the judge lets the guy go free on a $20,000 bond, a promise bond or whatever. I'm like, okay, if that's not turning against America, I don't know what is. And I'm pretty sure a lot of white people were involved in that too. So it's insane to be trying to divide us between race. I do agree. Dividing between cultures, I agree with you on that. But race, no, absolutely not. So again, there's a difference between legal immigrants who have immigrated to the United States from third world countries or whatever you call them, second world countries, into America, and even sometimes first world countries. And American-born minorities. American-born minorities. Going back to me saying that I was born, poor and everything. Again, I've grown up with a lot of different people in my life, and I had an upbringing unlike a lot of other Mexicans. I'm going to use my family tree as a background here. My mom always taught us to go to school. That's not a white thing. That's not a Mexican thing. That's not a black thing. That's not a Korean thing. That is an American thing. That is just a thing. That's not even an American thing. That's just the natural instinct of your parents wanting to see you succeed. And in my mom's eyes, going to school and making sure I didn't fuck up was the goal. And so she instilled that on us. And in my mind, I started understanding after that Mecha incident. I started understanding you got to be colorblind. Don't be culture blind. Don't be an idiot and be culture blind, but definitely be colorblind. Color blindness is the way to go when you want to. And this goes for blacks who say, oh, Black Lives Matter and everything. I fucking hate that movement. I think it's stupid. It's for Mecha and they say, oh, it means everybody. Well, if it means everybody, start using the right words. All lives matter. And you know what? Not even all lives matter. Why should anybody else? Why should I care about other people's lives if they don't want to care about their own? So there. No, not all lives matter. It depends on what you want to do with your life. I can't grab you by your shoulder, but your life matters. I'm not going to help you commit suicide, but your life matters. I'm going to make sure that you do this, but your life matters. I'm going to do this. No, it's ultimately your responsibility to make sure that your life matters. Nobody else's but yours. So, got to be colorblind in that respect. Don't be an idiot and fall for culture blindness. Okay, so American-born immigrants... American-born minorities, like me, tend to question a lot of things. I don't have a Mexican culture. I grew up with a Mexican culture. My mom really tried hard to make me be more, Mexican, speak Spanish and everything. But I was also pressured at school to do good, and eventually I speak English like a white guy. At least that's what a lot of people say. I don't speak English like a white guy. I speak English like me. I can't fucking stand it when people say, oh, you don't speak like a Mexican. Sometimes you'll hear me, have my little accent here and there, but I speak like an American. And if anybody says that that's white, fuck you. It's not white. It is just me adapting to the lifestyle that has been granted to me. So that's I just want to get that out in the open there. So now, there's a difference between American-born minorities brought up with American values in mind versus American-born minorities who are brought up to be victims. And Jefferson, this is the one that I wanted to relay to you. And again, everybody was asking questions left and right. Again, I probably went a little bit too early in my hometown talk here. My parents brought us up just to be strong-willed, independent adults, kids and adults, whatever, and to not fall prey to being a victim. We always have to work for ourselves. We have to do this. We have to do that. And she would not let us get away with anything. Again, I don't see the difference between that and American values. I was able to learn about what it was to be a responsible adult, even though in my early teens I wasn't responsible. My early 20s I wasn't responsible. I was just kind of a transient going all over the place trying to find myself. Again, that kind of co-plays with a lot of the abuse that I had when I was younger as well. I have a complicated life. We all do. But I'm just saying, American-born minorities who feel like they're victims are going to be in a different culture. They grew up poor probably, and there's some ones that grew up rich that just feel like that the world owes them, and that, oh, the white people are the oppressors, or black people are the oppressors, or Mexicans are disgusting filth stealing our jobs, versus the American-born minorities with American values, who doesn't believe that, is not blind to the fact that there are people out there like that. But that's not us, and we don't need to be, people like me don't need to be categorized in that kind of a mindset. Granted, you are correct. I am a minority amongst minorities. There aren't many of us. But there is one thing that has changed. Since all this data has has been in existence, and that's the internet. The internet has the power to influence a lot of people. Channels like mine have a lot of power to influence people. And again, I'm not the best at what I do. There's tons more content creators way better than me. But I do firmly believe that I give something back in value in regards to seeing that minorities who feel like they are victims can watch some of my videos and say, no, you know, maybe he's onto something, maybe I can learn, and then they go branch out and do their own thing, and then maybe they make up their own channel and see, you know what, I want to help other minorities as well realize that they're not victims. And you know what, when they have those intrinsic values of self-worth, being able to contribute to society, guess how many of those are going to be voting Republican? Guess how many of those are going to be voting more conservative? It grows, the number grows. There's not many people who think like me that would be voting Democrat. There's not. And we are a growing number. We are a growing number. I just feel like it's very dangerous to try to chastise us and say that we are what's wrong with America and that we'll never be able to assimilate with white people. Now, I do have a respect for our founding fathers. I do understand that maybe the Bill of Rights was probably written, and again, this is debatable. Everybody has their own arguments about it. I've done my research. I'm still kind of at a standstill here. But the we the people thing, everybody's interpreting it like, there's a lot of words, but we the people, I'll start with we the people. We the people is basically interpreted as, you know, we the white colonists who came here from, you know, our oppressive country to get away from that kind of lifestyle are gonna have our own Constitution and Bill of Rights and this and that and this and that, and it's only meant for white people. Now, again, I do believe that maybe it was initially written for white people, but we evolve people, we advance. The founding fathers back then may have not seen any of us. I mean, look, they were surrounded by a lot of people who didn't have an education. Black people didn't have an education back then. They were forced to slavery. They were forced to, you know, do menial things that would not teach, not show them to be an example of high mental capacity. Indians as well, you know, they couldn't understand, Native Americans, they couldn't understand, you know, their lifestyle, and they thought they were pretty much savages, which for the most part was kind of true because the Indians did battle amongst one another territorially. And so this is the idea that they had back then. They're like, okay, well, we're a little bit ahead of everybody else here, so this is going to be our Bill of Rights, and we'll start migrating people over that look like us and that want to be like us, yada, yada, yada. Again, we've evolved from that. And yes, we can owe it to the Democrats for the influx of migrants from all across the world, from third world countries, from Mexico, you name it. But, you know, when that immigration happened, and America was told, you know what, nothing's going to change much. It's still going to be a white majority America. And I don't know if those were the exact words, but nothing will change much. It's going to be a slow trickle process, and we'll bring in people that want to assimilate. This is where I think you're missing the point as well, Jefferson. The powers that be started bringing an influx of people who probably didn't want to assimilate into American culture, who probably just wanted to come in here and take advantage of the entire system at the expense of hard-working Americans, black, white, whatever. At the time, black and white, a little bit of Mexican, and a minority of Asians. But these people, the way that it was handled was wrong. I can agree with you on that. Here's the thing. I believe minorities can assimilate with white America. I believe that wholeheartedly. I assimilate with it 100%. And with that, I also do wholeheartedly agree. We are bringing in probably 95% people who do not need to be here. If legal immigration had to be 5% of what it is right now or less, I would be okay with that. And granted, yes, it would still be like what you said, a majority white America, Again, the numbers are going down because of the abuse of the system, bringing in people that don't want to assimilate. This is where you and I differ. I see that as the issue. I see people coming in an influx that I don't want here, that are not wanting to assimilate. I see that as the issue. I don't see the issue being minorities in general. Minorities like me, minorities from foreign countries, from third world countries and whatnot, we can find those select few. If it's 50 from one country, if it's 10 from one country, and we vet them hard. We vet them to see what type of Americans they're going to be. They're going to be able to come in and contribute to America. And if the numbers grow and the white population goes down, at least you have the comfort of knowing that these people that are being vetted in aren't the kind of people that are going to want to make this Mexico, aren't the kind of people that are going to want to make this Africa, aren't the kind of people that are going to want to make this fucking Canada. They're going to be people who believe in America, who are offered this chance for the most part. And granted, you also have to understand, there's a lot of white people who are low on the IQ scale as well, and they vote Democrat. And so, you have those to contend with as well. So this isn't a minority issue, and I'm pretty sure you realize that. So that's the thing. We brought in too many people in this country who don't want to assimilate. That's where I see the flaw. I don't see the flaw in minorities. I would hope that you can bring that distinction into your live streams, your arguments, and not just you. I mean, I've been watching a lot of people make streams about white nationalism and just trying to keep America fully white, or not. Well, a lot of them want it fully white. Think of Mike Enoch, for example. But then there's others who just want to have it majority white. You being one of them. Forget his name. The Red Elephants. Vincent Taylor. James, whatever. Anyways, and I can agree with you guys, and I can understand to a point that, yeah, a white majority America is what's kind of saving America at this point. If we didn't have a white majority America, whites were the ones who majority voted for Trump in the particular regions that it needed to be voting in for him to win electorally. Not with a popular vote, which doesn't matter, but electorally, which is great, and I agree with them. Especially when you look at the numbers. I think Mexican or Hispanics made up about 30 to 35% of Republican votes, and that number could grow. Right now, all we've seen is that it's been steady. But again, more people who are prominently coming out that are minorities, who think like me, who think like conservative Mexican, who thinks like Truth or Talk, who thinks like white guy, but sticks Hexenhammer 666, who thinks like these kind of people who do believe in civic nationalism has its benefits. Civic nationalism has been abused by the people who control it. Civic nationalism to them is bringing in anybody and everybody from every country. I am against that. I'm for the civic nationalism regarding people who actually want to assimilate to America, who take the oath to become Americans, who actually contribute to America. And then from there, their voting record would probably more or less cater to right wing. That's my personal opinion. And I think some facts that I've seen kind of go with me on that, but a lot of them don't. I do see that as well. If I wanted to go to a hospital, or if I wanted to get surgery, I don't want somebody to do surgery on me who is, who I'm at a hospital and they had to hire based off of ethnicity, and maybe the people that who were qualified were all white or Asian or Chinese or whatever, but then they had to hire the Mexican or the East Indian, and they were less qualified, and something fucks up with my surgery. No, I want the best people for the job. Nice stop, buddy. So I agree with all this, but then there's also times where sometimes minorities are the people that do the best job. I do not believe, I 100% don't believe that affirmative action should be in existence. I don't. I got my job here at my company because I am qualified. I have, I guess almost 2 decades of experience. That's a little scary. No, I'm sorry. It's not even that close. It's about 16 years of experience in my field. No, I'm sorry. 14. Boy, I'm exaggerating numbers like I'm exaggerating stats in this video. And again, everything I'm saying is loosely based, but these are just things that I want you to consider overall. You know, it's anybody, regardless of color, has, and again, I know biology plays a lot of role in it, a big role in it. My mom didn't read past the 2nd grade level. She got kicked out by my grandmother. My grandmother kicked her out of 2nd grade, so that way my grandmother could watch all of her telenovelas and have my mom do all the housework, cook, clean, take care of all of her 16 brothers and sisters. I don't know how big the family was. It was pretty big. And my mom was basically a slave. She used to, nothing she did was right in my grandmother's eyes. My mother did not have a low IQ because she didn't try. My mother had a low IQ because my fucking grandmother forced her to be that way. And I'll tell you this, I know from my education, from my from how good I am at my work, I'm in the technical field, how I'm very analytical on things. I'm not right now because I don't have stats in front of me. I'm more analytical in the tech side. How I try to piece together things in my head. I believe I'm pretty, I don't know, I'm a smart guy, I guess. I'm not the smartest, I know that. I'm not anywhere near exuberantly smart. I'm probably average smart in the world, I would assume, but I'm smart enough. And I think I'm competitively smart with a lot of people in my field, and that's what matters. My mom eventually read her first book when she was 41, 42 years old. It was a book called A Boy Called It. You know, it was a book that she was told, you know, would be a great read, and so she sat down and read it. I think it took her a month or two. She would sometimes ask us, like, what does this word say? What does that word say? And she eventually caught on. Well, guess what? We had a party for her when she was done. And I'm pointing this out because a lot of people would say, oh, you know, if your ancestry is not smart, you know, it might be hard for you to be smart as well. My sister is smart. She has a high position in her field. I have a pretty high position in my field. You know, my brother had, you know, he works for a law firm. You know, there's a lot of people in my direct family, my brothers and sisters. We were brought up right, and that's what I'm saying is upbringing can actually make a difference. It's not your color. It's not your color. And then from there, you know, I saw everybody else, like cousins, nieces, and nephews. I'm not saying all, but I'm saying some that wanted to play the victim, and they do. Sometimes they still to this day play the victim, and they get benefits. Some of them do work hard. You know, it's a toss-up. But I've always looked at somebody who was at the very lowest, and I was at the very lowest before. I was homeless before. I had my own little issues as well. You know, went through my own little escapades, but I see them, and some of them do work their asses off, but they're just stuck at that low-paying job, and I feel bad about that. You know, it's like there's another level where you have to know your worth. You have to know how valuable you are to yourself, your family, your company, and America. And it has nothing to do with race. It has everything to do with character, and that's the biggest thing. That's probably hands down the biggest thing here. You're looking at it from a color perspective. You're not seeing that there are minorities out there who just believe in American nationalism first and foremost, if not only and solely. I would probably fall into the latter category of only and solely. And there are a lot more people like me, and we're growing. Again, the problem is people coming in, and our governments and our powers that be allowing people unvetted coming in here, taking our jobs, ruining the sanctity of the United States, and bringing in people that don't want to assimilate. That is the issue. There's less than 5% of those people that come in are probably good Americans. And that's all I have to say on this. I'm going to be making more videos about this in the future. I know it's a long-ass video. I apologize. But it's something that I needed to get off my chest. You know, we are so against each other right now. And there's not a battle against against Americans in general. There shouldn't be. There shouldn't be. There should be a battle against culture. There should be a battle against our government and our elected officials and our enforcement officials not doing their job properly and bringing us to this level. Granted, in this day and age right now, minorities should have been a lot less. What are we now? I don't know. I think Mexicans are about 25% in America, or 20. I don't know. It realistically should be about 10, maybe less. And that's if we vetted properly. I'm going to give you that. I agree with you on that. And I don't mind if we're that, low minority. I do believe Mexico is due for a revolution. I do believe South America, certain parts of South America, are due for a revolution. I believe all these foreign countries, these third world countries, who keep fleeing their countries are due for revolutions. And they need to make their own countries and do them themselves. Do I believe that ethno-states don't work? No, I believe sometimes they do work. I don't like seeing what's happening in Sweden. I don't like seeing what's happening in Germany. I don't like seeing what's Japan seems to be the only stable one in regards to keeping everything in check, and they're successful for the most part. 98% Japanese, whatever. But America is different. America is that other level that if we had people, elected people holding positions of power, enforcement or legal or otherwise, we could see America be so much different and lead as an example of how multi-colored people can get together and do their own thing. Granted, I'm not saying culture, and you can still have your culture and be in America, but you have to put America first. We are that example, and we're not living it right now. Anyways, what are you guys' thoughts? Again, Jefferson, this isn't a rat on you or anything. This is just, I love your views. I'm just hoping you see what I'm seeing here. There's a difference between people who are illegal, that don't want to assimilate, and and those that come in legally. I would think that they're a little bit more conservative. They're not the majority conservative, but they're a little bit more conservative than the illegals. And then there's those that are American-born, who believe they're victims, who are more democratic, and then the American-born minorities who don't believe that they're victims, who are pretty much majority conservative. And if we start encouraging people to be this latter, we could be the America that I dream of. Anyways, what are you guys' thoughts? I hope you guys all have a great day, and peace out.